You see, the thing about the other big horror franchises is that anytime you got a sequel from Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, or even Friday the 13th, you knew exactly who our killer was going to be in those films. For the most part, I mean, Roy Burns and Corey Cunningham be damned. Not the case here, though, with Ghostface, as we waited 3 years for Scream 3 to be released in the year 2000. Wes Craven returns, but I started to wonder if these creators and these guys at the helm would run out of steam trying to find ways to put believable psychopaths in front of those voice changers. I mean, new millennium, new location, but same old aging gracefully. And if you'll indulge me, let's find out for this installment what sort of trouble Sidney, Dewey, and Gale find themselves in this time around. Rest in peace, Randy. Gone too soon, brother. A chopper buzzing around the Hollywood sign tells us exactly where the location is for this film right before we land in Cotton Weary's SUV. He's a big star now. He is hosting his own talk show called 100% Cotton. Love the name. Then his cell phone rings as he's on the car phone. Now, he's arguing with somebody on his car phone about his show. And when the cell phone rings, he picks it up and it's a sultry sort of female voice. Some admire that he's very interested in having a conversation with. So he hangs up on his car phone, talks to the female on the line, and it turns out this is no female. This is actually Ghostface. Now, obviously, at this point in their lives, these guys probably get a million of these prank calls. But whoever this is on the other line is describing Christine, Cotton's girlfriend, in the shower of their apartment. Now, Cotton takes this seriously pretty quickly, and this killer, whoever this is on the other end of this phone, wants to know where Sidney Prescott is hiding, and this person's willing to kill for that information, as he is very, very clear about his intentions with the lovely Christine. Even though he's stuck in the worst kind of California traffic, Cotton does everything he can to race home. He is driving over medians. He is driving down one-way streets, doing the best he can to get to his girlfriend. Now, Christine, in the meantime, she hears Cotton's voice in the home after she towels off, and then she gets attacked by Ghostface. Barricades herself in an office, and on the other side of that door is very clearly Cotton talking to her. Now, she believes it's Cotton trying to attack her, so when Cotton gets home, she can't trust him. It would appear that this Ghostface has got some sort of a voice changer that allows him to mimic other voices as well. So he mimics Cotton perfectly here. Now, the lovely Christine, played by Kelly Rutherford, ultimately dies. And then Cotton, he sadly dies too in this cold open. Now, I was hoping for a little bit more of a struggle from this character that Liev Schreiber has had a really nice run with over these first 3 films. But it turns out to be an impactful sacrifice to kick this movie off. Got one of the cool Creed songs thrown in there too during this cold open, so I would be remiss if I did not mention that, because they've only got a couple that are worthwhile, and they had one here in Scream 3. So the reason we find ourselves in Tinseltown for this movie is because production on Stab 3 is underway. That's right, we skip right over Stab 2, and we get to our very own trilogy within the trilogy. Now, Sidney, though, she is somewhere in the middleest of nowhere. If middleest is even a word, I'll look it up, but she is she is parked in BFE. She's going under the name Laura, and she's working a crisis hotline of all things, because it's insanely appropriate. I mean, if anybody can talk you off a ledge, it is somebody that has survived numerous mass murder attempts. She's got a security system. She's got a dog. I mean, she looks like she's set out there in the sticks wherever she's living. Still looks phenomenal too with that short haircut of hers. I mean, Neve Campbell is a forever crush. Gale pops up shortly thereafter, giving a lecture at a college, and at the end of this lecture where we meet Detective Mark Kincaid, who's assigned to the case, played by Patrick Dempsey of numerous stellar 80s fare. Also of Grey's Anatomy. My wife's a fan. We don't talk about it anymore. It's caused some problems in the marriage. She calls him McDreamy or something like that. I don't know. Probably not for consumption here on this channel, but it was a rough patch. Detective Kincaid is here to explain to Gale that the night prior, Cotton and his girlfriend were brutally murdered, and a picture of a young Maureen Prescott was left behind at the scene. Now, the plot, as those folks say, would seem to thicken with this new development. We cut right back to Sydney after this, who's in a bit of an emotional tailspin when she sees the news about Cotton on the television screen. She knows something is now happening again for the third goddamn time. So the movie within the movie is actually titled Stab 3, Return to Woodsboro, and we get that song, that Red Right Hand, playing in the background before we get a glorious goddamn view of a couple of movie sets, one of which is the perfect replica of Sydney's old house from the first film, as well as Stu Macher's house, where that wonderful first film, that classic first movie, ended in 1996. And it looks amazing. As you're watching it, you're really hoping to get more moments inside of those homes within this movie. You got your fingers crossed for it. And then we meet the cast of this Stab 3, right? And all of them seem to be playing characters similar to the ones we love, but it's nothing really noteworthy here. I mean, Jenny McCarthy plays Candy, and I'm a Jenny McCarthy fan. We'll get more into that later. But the best of this cast is yet to come, which we might as well go ahead and talk about now, because my favorite addition to this film is Parker Posey. As the actress playing Gail in Stab 3, she's fucking perfect. I mean, the barbs thrown between her and the real Gail steal scenes. And when you throw Dewey in the mix as that movie's technical advisor, just makes you smile. Now again, Gail and Dewey are on the outs. What else is new? But nothing brings these two crazy kids together like serial murder. I mean, it's just the elixir for their relationship. Lance Henriksen is here, and I feel like there's an unwritten rule where he has to be in every third horror film, no matter the horror film. Every third one that gets made, you got to find a spot for him. Playing John Milton in this movie. Now, he's the owner of the studio and a horror icon, both in character and out, of course. Scott Foley, he plays Roman Bridger, who is the director of Stab 3. And when you add this Detective Kincaid in the mix, we have three instant suspects for me. It's not until Candy dies, and Candy does die, which was a real bummer for me, because I'm pretty sure Jenny McCarthy's Playboy might have been the first one I ever really saw. But everyone starts to piece together that in real life, the people are dying in the order that they're dying in Stab 3 so far. Candy's death, I mean, it was pretty good too, because she's lured to the studio offices by Roman's voice, which we know is a voice changer now. But then she's attacked by Ghostface, and she goes to hide from him, and she hides in this room with rack upon rack of these Ghostface costumes, and you just knew Ghosty was popping out of one of them. Sure enough, he does. Kills off Candy. Not a nice thing, man. Let's keep a blonde around for a change. I mean, all the brunettes are getting love in this series. Why not keep Jenny McCarthy around for another scene or two? Dick move, Ghostface. Eventually, we get to sit down with Gail and Dewey, and they're not what they were in the second film, but they're still always going to be a highlight together. I mean, the conversation goes from who the killer may be to where the killer may be to what failed their relationship, and I really felt that line that Gail used when she tells him they're just too different. And then Dewey looks back at her and says, "You always used to tell me that was our strength."
It didn't work, Dewey. We tried. We're different.
You used to say that was our strength.
They do a great job just showing that there's still something there, but there's all this bitterness that is set in, and it's really a roadblock for them. And the working theory from everybody involved so far at this point in the film seems to be that somebody working on the movie is clearly trying very hard to figure out where Sydney is. Now, I thought, pulling back the curtain, honestly, I'm not ashamed to say it, I really thought it was the detective the entire time. You know, just for the record, I mean, and then Sydney gets this call at home, so she knows she's not safe. Ghostface calls her up, gives her a hard time. She knows it's a good idea to get that gun she's been carrying around with her, take it to Cali, and reunite with the crew. Now, the Dewey reunion, it's always a great time. I love those two together. And I mentioned it in the Scream 2 movie, he feels like her big brother. He feels like that almost right away, right after Scream ends. it feels like it's going to be Dewey looking out after her. And he's a goofball, but he's our goofball. Even Gale gets a hug too. I mean, you know, the fact that these two have come so far and they're now embracing one another when they see each other instead of throwing hands, a lot of progress there. Really, that anger management's working out for the both of them. Over time, there's these new photos of Maureen that are being left with each new body, and they start to realize that her life before motherhood, Maureen was actually Rena Reynolds, and she was an actress in a lot of these B movies that John Milton was making, these B horror movies. And not only that, Lance Henriksen, the old dog, John Milton, Lance Henriksen's character, he got his Hugh Hefner on a lot. And he threw some pretty wild parties for powerful guys who loved meeting these young, naive actresses. And Maureen was definitely on the menu back in the day, which, if you listen to the old timers around here, tell you that's where she learned to throw it around a little bit. So Billy Loomis's dad got seduced by Maureen back in the day, and it's all John Milton's fault. It always comes back to Lance Henriksen and his bullshit. The climax of this bloody tale unfolds in Milton's mansion as Roman would appear to drink himself into an absolute stupor over the movie that he was trying to direct, Stab 3, getting shut down due to all the deaths. Sydney gets called into action in this mansion once Patrick Dempsey stops flirting with her, and we wind up finding out just how twisted the Prescott family tree is. So at the time, in the moment, it was hard to know if this was going to be the concluding chapter of a trilogy or just another installment. But back in 2000, what did Scream 3 kill? What did they get right? And the very first thing that comes to mind is none other than Parker Posey. Parker goddamn Posey. She was so good. I mean, as the woman playing Gale Weathers in Stab 3, her range is all over the place. I mean, she's following Gale around, she's asking questions, but she's also giving her opinion on what Gale would do. She's telling Gale what she feels like Gale would do in a real life situation, which is hilarious in every kind of way. She owns nearly every single scene she finds herself in, whether it's the constant bickering with the real Gale Weathers, her over-the-top reactions to finding out that she herself is a target from this killer, or her Scooby-Doo style team up with Gale at the very end when they're investigating just who the killer would be, when they run into Princess Leia, when she questions John Milton in his office. All of it's just so funny. And then there's that scene where she gets pissed at Dewey because Dewey ran off to help the real Gale instead of her in her time of need. She hits Dewey, Gale slugs her back, and then she looks at Gale and says, "My lawyer liked that," before Gale says, "Not as much as I did." She's so quotable, and she's in the franchise for a cup of coffee, but it's a damn refreshing cup of coffee because she's a lot of fun in this movie. Definitely an A+ out of me for Parker Posey. She nailed it. Our original crew is great as always. Sidney Prescott, legendary final girl, brought to life by Neve Campbell. Through the first 3 films, she is just a sterling example of somebody who's in peril, but you can see her getting stronger through each of these movies. From 1 to 3, she just turns into a total badass, and in this one, she really takes the killer to the woodshed at the end of the film. Gale and Dewey, forever my favorite horror couple. You know, they're always going to find one another, and these movies are so much better for that fact. Gale's jealousy over Dewey's relationship with Jennifer sets the table for some wildly entertaining back and forth between the women. You know, I go back and forth. I enjoyed the way they wrapped this film up because they did leave it open-ended. I mean, you could easily see this being the last film with Sydney letting her guard down. You know, she doesn't arm the alarm. She doesn't care that the door didn't latch when she went to shut it. And she sits down with Gale and Dewey. And, by the way, that proposal with Gale and Dewey, goddamn heartwarming. I mean, I loved it. I loved that. I can't believe I didn't mention that sooner. But Gale and Dewey are out there, and then this damn Mark Kincaid shows up, and he's making popcorn. He's asking her what kind of movie she wants to watch. Great little line there. You love that connective tissue. But you could also see, you know, Ghostface making another appearance in her life now that she is easing back into some sense of normalcy. So I dug it. I mean, I go back and forth on it sometimes. This rewatch, I was here for it. I kind of enjoyed it now. Now that we talked about the good, let's go over a little bit about the bad. And there were a couple of things. The Ghost Mom shit, you know, not a fan of it. It was weird. I didn't know what was a hallucination and what was real. I didn't understand how she was having the hallucinations about her mom. But then in the climax of the movie, that same sort of hallucination is brought to life by this Ghostface in Milton's theater at the very end. Wasn't a fan. I didn't get it. The cast was not as strong here as it usually is. You know, and the ending with the brother angle was fine, but I feel like it takes away from the brilliance of our original Ghostface duo from 1996. I thought those two were such great magnetic characters. Just their their motive was it made sense. It was real. You got the one guy who's kooky as hell and he's just wacky, and then the other guy is out for revenge. So adding this angle to it, I thought that kind of poured a little bit of water on that. But I go back and forth with a lot of these issues I have with this movie. It's good. It's gonna age gracefully. It's still a 7.5 out of 10. But they're kind of plummeting a little bit, and not too fast, because there's a lot of movies in the big horror franchises that would be very lucky to get a 7.5 out of 10, if we're being totally honest with one another here. But this movie, Scream 3, still another really good installment for a really fantastic horror franchise. And at some point, I'm still at the point, by the time I finish watching Scream 3 in real time back in 2000, I'm still at the point where I don't know where they're going to go. If they're going to continue to go to new movies and new stories, I'm not really sure how they're going to pull that off. And we'll talk more about that when we get to Scream 4. If you dig what we're doing, if you like the Scream movies, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. I love hearing feedback on not only how I do in these videos, but what you guys thought of the films that we're talking about here. Subscribe to the channel, click the like button, do all the things that I constantly beg you to do just to put a smile on my old weathered face. I would really appreciate it. This is Agent Gracefully. I am Matthew Essex. I'll see you guys on the other side. And back in Woodsboro for Scream 4.